Hello everybody, and welcome to the very first Star Stable Training Time video on my channel. My page previously focused solely on Alicia Online content, but as of late I've been uploading some different short-form content on TikTok and streaming pretty consistently on Twitch, and I've decided that I'd like to expand a bit to some other games. Feel free to skip ahead if you don't really care about this, but to all of my previous subscribers, I just want to say sorry for no uploads and no real discussion of anything. I just really didn't want to make any more long-form content a couple of years ago, and as a result, I kind of abandoned this channel, but I'd like to get back into making some more long-form content. Unfortunately, Alicia Online is still down, so although I would have liked to make an Alicia Online video, today we're gonna start with Star Stable. Okay, and the other thing I'd like to mention is that if you are at all curious about where I've been or what I've been up to, feel free to check out my other social medias in my link tree linked below, and also feel free to join the Discord community if you want to chat. Also, this video is meant to be a type of video that incites discussion, so feel free to comment and let me know your thoughts on the topic that we'll be discussing today. So, later day Macachin here. I sound a bit nasally and I apologize for that. We're going to be starting today's train and talk video at Starshine Ranch on my horse Hummingbird. I've had this horse for months and I just haven't finished training it, so we need to do that. But today's train and talk video topic is going to be concepts and places abandoned by Star Stable. So this is going to include things that aren't just like abandoned in the literal sense, like still there, but also things that have been completely removed from the game. And we will be discussing how the removal of those things have affected current present-day Star Stable life and changed the vibe a little bit, because some of the things that have been changed in-game have affected things that are still in the game, and we'll go into that further in the video. So, time to go look for some wild animals. I'd highly recommend, if you're listening to this, get on Star Stable, train with me. I know you've got horses, I know you need to. Come on, let's go. I've got a little list here to go through of topics, and I want to say right off the bat, there's probably some things that I've missed. So if there's a topic that immediately comes to mind that I don't bring up that you want to talk about, or if there's certain aspects of things that I do bring up that you also would like to talk about more, or have things that I don't personally mention, you should bring it up down below. I love to yap about this sort of thing. The first thing that I should address probably is that I'm gonna keep talking about this concept of Star Stable sacrificing realism for the sake of convenience. Editor Macachin here. Basically what I'm trying to say is that I personally believe Star Stable is sacrificed a lot of its game's realistic features for more convenient ones, and because of these more convenient ones, aka things that take less time to do, a lot of the more old features have died out or been completely ignored by the player base over the years because of the new, more convenient way of doing things. So for example, if you took a trailer in Golden Hills, you couldn't use it to get to Steve's farm because Steve's farm was on the mainland and Golden Hills was a separate region in the game. This also meant that if you wanted to get from Jorvik Stables to, say, Moorland, you couldn't do that. You would need to trailer to Wolf Hall Inn, cross the bridge to Nilmer's Highland, and then use the trailer there to go home, or wherever you were trying to go. And basically, this added a couple minutes to a journey that would usually take nowadays about 10 seconds. So it definitely sacrificed a bit of realism, I feel like, for convenience. Nowadays, you can travel between any trailer in any region to another trailer in any region, and it really simplifies and shortens up the time it takes to get somewhere that you're trying to go. However, I do think we need to acknowledge how this has greatly changed the usability of ferries in the game. I assume most people are already pretty familiar with how the ferries work in the game, but basically it's these boats you can take between some of the regions and Star Stable. So for example, one can go between Fort Pinta, Cape West Fishing Village, and Jorvik Stables, and there's one that can go between Fort Pinta and South Hoof. And back in the day, these were really the only free way to travel. between these regions unless you wanted to run around the entire map, which nobody really had time for that, let's be honest. And it also made for a very nice community experience in my opinion, because every time you would try to get on the ferry, there would always be a couple of people waiting there. And also, it really forced us players to be patient in the game and really appreciate the small things like that. So basically what I am saying is that because ferries were used to travel between regions, and now we can just travel between any region on the trailers, there's really no reason to take the ferry. I never see anybody on it these days. I've ridden it a couple times myself lately, just to kind of feel the nostalgia, but it really doesn't feel the same when nobody else has to use it, and you know yourself there's a faster way to do it type thing. I think it's time to move on to the next topic, and the next topic I want to discuss is the horse death screen. So old players will remember the old horse death screen, and basically what this was is when you would take a dangerous fall, the game would let you know that you had taken a dangerous fall, but miraculously you got back up. And because of this, oftentimes I would try my absolute hardest to take care of my horse because, one, I found the screen to be a bit jarring, and two, it also would take away your horse's health, and as your horse's health would get lower, the moment it hit 0, you would be teleported back to your home stable. Which, if you were somewhere kind of far away that would take a couple minutes to run to, you really didn't want to have to go back to your home stable and start all over again. Now, I think that the screen we have these days that tells us, hey, you're doing something wrong, your horse is miraculously surviving, yeah, it's saying, oh wow, that was scary, but it's really not saying, hey, by the way, if you keep doing this, your actions will have consequences. By putting your horse into these dangerous situations, things might not turn out in your favor. I think it's pretty universally known that a giant red screen means danger, and I understand that having the red screen might have scared some kids or made people nervous potentially, and I could see if maybe it was a potential flashing hazard for people who are sensitive to flashing colors. It should be able to be disabled in settings, but I do seriously think this was a feature that should still be in the game. I know nowadays that you still can be teleported to your home stable, but it's like very weirdly specific situations. I don't know how to make it happen because every time it's happened, it's been very random. But I think us older players can all agree it was a lot more serious back in the day when you saw that red flash screen, because you knew if it happened more than like 3 times, you would be back to your home stable, and nobody liked doing that. So this is a feature that I really miss in the game. The next thing I want to talk about is the Jorvik City Mall and Jorvik City as a whole. Basically, I think this area is safe to say it's pretty much been abandoned. I don't think there's been any new quest lines here, really, in multiple years, which is fine. It's not really a questing type area, but it is meant to be a shopping area, and I'm just gonna say it, it's very ironic and sad that the issue of online shopping has also hit Jorvik City, of all places, in a video game. Basically, since the addition of the global shop, it's really changed how players as a whole spend their time shopping in Star Stable. Whenever I go to Jorvik City Mall, there is basically nobody there. 9 times out of 10 there might be just a couple of people, but nobody really goes there to shop because 90% of the clothes that are there are in the global shop anyway, so there's really no point in going. And all of the new clothing these days, the modern clothing that gets added to the game, is put straight into the global shop. It's not put at a specific store, or it'll be put at a store, but it'll also be in-game in the global shop, so there's really no reason for you to have to go to the shop yourself and buy it. I remember back in the day, my friends and I would go to the Jorvik City Mall with our weekly star coin allowance and pick out whatever outfit we wanted to put together, and we also would look through all the items that were there and decide what we wanted next week, and it was just a good time. I can say that the vibe is just not the same, but I know how it feels to go shopping at the mall and look through things and see something you like and want to buy it. And it's just really not that feeling anymore. Like, when I look at the global store, I feel like I'm looking at the Amazon of Star Stable. Like, wow, look at all this It's not that it's cheaply made stuff, because it is really nice items, but I do be sitting here thinking to myself, wow, I'm really flooded with options here, and I don't really know if I like that. So, this is me saying I'd really appreciate it if Star Stable would bring back more shop exclusive clothing, as in, if there's specific items. I understand maybe 50% of the items being in the global store, but I really, really, really hope that they make more. If they made Jorvik City exclusive clothing again, and Jorvik City and Mall exclusive tack sets and clothing sets again, I can guarantee you when they release new tack every week, there would be people at the mall looking at the new items, and that feeling would come back. I also think there's kind of this underrated feature of going to the mall, having to wait at the bus stop, which the bus stop really helped slow down the game time and the shopping experience as a whole, can I just say? Shopping just used to take way longer for us as players to do. We'd have to go to the mall, we'd have to find the shop we wanted to go to, and it was an enjoyable activity that you could do together with friends, and technically you still can do it with friends. You can all run around the map and look at clothes together, but why would you do that when you have the global store? It's easy. It only takes 5 seconds. So I think this is why I'm led to believe that the Star Stable global shop experience is what has killed the mall and Jorvik City shopping entirely. I do appreciate the global store for what it is, like, don't get me wrong, it is nice being able to just look at whatever's added to the game right away, but I think it would add to my gameplay time and make my gameplay experience overall just slightly more enjoyable and time consuming if I had to actually go look for the items I want. Most games these days, especially more cozy type games, which I play Star Stable like it's a cozy type game, they tend to have shopping. Okay. They tend to have shopping as something that you need to go look for and go to different shops for, and I just wish Star Stable still had it set up in this manner. Let me know how you feel about this. I really miss going to the mall, at least having a reason to go to the mall. But let me know how you feel, and if you actually don't really miss going to the mall. Or maybe you've never really experienced the era of going to the mall. Next, we're going to be talking about the abandoned places of Jorvik and areas that are just in need of a little bit of love from the development team. I know that they have said they are actively working on updating a lot of the areas, and as far as I'm aware, skip ahead 10 seconds if you don't want to hear this, but I've heard that they're currently working on updating the harvest counties. I'm not sure if that's true, but who knows? We're just gonna mention all of the areas in Star Stable that feel relatively abandoned in terms of storylines and quest lines, and also just need a visual overhaul, in my opinion. So the first area, this is a very obvious one. It is the Valley of the Hidden Dinosaur. Those of you who are over level 15 know about Valley of the Hidden Dinosaur, and especially older players, this was a very special place in the game when it was added because it was the first place that had, well, year-round snow, and I think it's still the only place with year-round snow. However, it looks quite crusty and a little bit on the plastic side, but that is okay. It is that old, perfect, old Star Stable nostalgia that we love. However, there is no denying that as a game ages, it needs to update with the times and to keep its style consistent across any of the areas the world may have. And Dino Valley has not only been abandoned in terms of its quests, but it's actively had things that added to its environment removed. So yes, it needs an overhaul in that regard. And I also think another place that is in need of an overhaul is the Harvest Counties and Epona as well. These areas don't really seem to have any real quest lines going on with them at the moment. We've had some important, relevant, recent, major story quest related things change in these areas. For example, we recently got into Fort Maria, and we also got Devil's Gap. But there isn't really anything happening in these areas. I feel like I used to run around through Jarlaheim quite a bit back in the day, especially with the way I'll talk about this more a little bit later, but I do personally believe that all of these areas that I'm saying are kind of abandoned or feel empty are areas that I think could really benefit from some type of faction system, similar to how the druids in Valedale and the Hollow Woods work. So that's like, I guess, another dream update for me, quote unquote, but I guess we'll see if that ever happens. The last thing I want to talk about today are quests that have kind of been abandoned in the game, or quests that simply need a revamp, overhaul, and some ideas I have for them. The first one that comes to mind is the Coulters, and they're not really, I guess, they are a quest line, but at the end of the day, they are characters in the game. And the Coulters really offered something really unique, nothing like we have in the game currently. I mean, I don't really want to talk about the Rune Runner. Anyway, but you had to do reputation before you could buy the horse, so they wouldn't trust you when you first met them to take care of their horses once you bought them, so you would need to do reputation quests with them to build their trust in you before you could buy their horses. And I personally believe this was a really amazing and realistic concept. Sure, it was a bit annoying having to, you know, not be able to buy the horse right away, but it definitely made the Fjord horses feel well worth it. I seriously hope that when Star Stable decides to finally update the Valley of the Hidden Dinosaur, that they bring back the Coulters, and they also update the Fjord to a, like, maybe 3.5-ish type fjord. Basically, I seriously hope that once Dino Valley gets revamped, they not only bring back the Coulters, but they update the fjord at some point and have the Coulters once again sell the fjords as their horses. And another quest line that I do feel like Star Stable has kind of forgotten about is the Jorvik fishing quests. I love these quests because although they haven't been removed, they feel very old Star Stable core. Like, it's one of the only quests that I feel like feel truly untouched because it's in a region that still hasn't really been updated yet, or as well as other areas have. However, I hate to admit it, it's one of those things that definitely need to change as the game grows. So, what should Star Stable do? I think they could make a fishing faction that works kind of similarly to how the druids do here in the Hollow Woods, and I think maybe it could focus on collecting shells or netting, like using nets to catch crawfish and lobsters or crabs, and an actual fishing minigame, like maybe something that functions similarly to Stardew Valley or other cozy games that have fishing systems. I just think this could add a lot to the game. It gives us something different to do, and instead of having to do typical reputation to get these fishing quests, maybe there's something we can unlock with shells, similarly to how we could unlock special quests with the druids if we had enough light to exchange for them. This is something I've thought about quite a bit, but yes, I do feel like this is a quest line that could be greatly, I say quest line, a feature that could be greatly improved in the game, and something that deserves a bit more love and should stay in the game, I feel like, for a long time. Just, it needs to be updated to fit the more modern style of the game. So that concludes today's Train and Talk video. I sincerely appreciate it if you have watched this far, and if you're curious about seeing some more of my content, I do stream different animal and ideally variety type games on my Twitch, but if that isn't your cup of tea, don't worry, there will be some more horsey related videos on here soon. If you have anything you feel like I've missed, feel free to bring it up down below, and I love to discuss this kind of thing in the comments as well, or you can bring it up in my Discord server, which is also linked below, and we can have a little chat about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate you all, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Bye everybody!